Hello and welcome to Two Crones and a Microphone. I am Linda.
I am Betty.
And I'm Sally.
Welcome. Welcome to today's show, where we dive deep into changing traditions and focus on exploring the world around us and coping strategies that will help you restore and replenish. This is our first podcast of the year for year 3. What? Yay!
Yay.
So exciting. We started on September 5th, 2022 with grounding. And so it seems so appropriate to start year 3 with our next take on embodiment and living fully in our body. Also, we do have a new theme for this year: finding joy, honoring ourselves. I'm going to say that again: finding joy. Yes, honoring ourselves. Oh, thank goodness. Which will be part of each podcast in year 3.
So today's podcast, which believe it or not is podcast number 40, is entitled
Amazing.
Living Fully in Our Body or in Your Body, where we want to give and go over strategies for grounding in our bodies. So important for these turbulent times. But first, Linda, welcome back from your adventures. It's great to have you back with us. You have truly been missed.
Aw,
Do you
thank
have,
you. I
yeah,
missed you
well,
too, but I had to go off and do some fun things.
and I can't wait to hear about it. Do you have any words of wisdom that you want to share from your adventures? We know you've been really busy, and I don't know
Mm,
about the rest of you, but I've been pretty busy, as we discussed in
yes,
podcast 38. The summers kept most of us tumbling like dust dervishes or dust devils, if you want to use that word. I know for me, it's been a really busy summer, and I cannot believe that we're approaching fall, but I put out some fall colors to help kind of make that transition for myself.
excellent. Well, thank you for that warm welcome back. I missed you both. Of course, we do talk from time to time, but my time away was really rich. And part of what I was doing is I was on the move. And because I had made a life decision, I made a decision to downsize and to move a little closer to some dear friends and family. So I'm no longer in the Northeast and I'm now based in Ohio. Wow, which is where I grew up. And so it was quite an adventure. And boy, did I have so much experience in grounding, grounding, grounding. Rescue remedy, rescue
Yep.
pastille after rescue pastille, to the point where I was giving them out to other people along with me because that was the way we were getting through it. Because there was a particular cadence I was counting on, and all of a sudden that got sped up. So there I was giving things away, gifting people with things, got a dumpster at one point, and some things had to go in there. So it was just quite the experience. And, like any big change like that, it gives me a chance to reflect on what's really vital, what's really important. And there are some things that I am much beloved. I have so many objects that I've collected either for purposes because of teaching about the goddesses or because they were travel based and memory based. And it's always so rich. And then there's our family life. And I'm sorry, how many memory boxes do we need to keep after all? That was the open question on my mind. But it really was in some ways so dear because I was able to lean into my communities as well there. Because in Connecticut, as I was packing up, so many people just jumped in and said, "Oh, hey, we can come over and help this on this particular weekend." I was like, "Yes, thank you." And so I had so much active help from the community, from friends, and of course a lot of support from a distance too, from people saying, "You can do it, you're going to get through this." So the move itself went really well, and there's always a process of unpacking, and I'm still committed to downsizing to a fair degree. But that's part of the reason, if you can see our YouTube, you will notice I have a new background as well. So exciting. And I will say, having landed here and unpacked most of the basics, everything feels so manageable. And so I'm using that as a way for me to find joy and honor myself because it's nice to have something that's manageable as opposed to something that has me, stretching a lot in order to handle. So we all live complex lives, and this is one way I've chosen to simplify a bit.
So is your new home smaller than?
Yes, much
Yeah.
smaller. I ended up donating or giving away more than half of my furniture. And so
Wow.
it is much smaller. And I did find too, the closer it got to the deadline for the move itself, the less sentimental I got about all those bins of children's toys and memory boxes and things like that. I was like, all of a sudden near the end, I was like, nope. It was like, oh,
Off you
let's get
go.
rid of it. Give it away. There we go. It was really,
You,
it really was interesting, because, it's a big change and a good change. Thanks for asking that
you
question.
you might have done better than I did with that because I have to
Oh,
say that um, I may or may not have mentioned on the show before, I moved in 2023.
yes.
And so now, though, if you pick up the bedspread underneath every bed and all the extra rooms are all the memory boxes and the kids' toys and the stuffed
Yes.
animals that
Yes.
they couldn't give up or I couldn't give up.
And there we
Lego,
go.
we gave up the Legos, but some of the other stuff, not, it came with us. And so it's still here.
Well, don't you have a Lego story you want to share?
Again, we were talking about, so those of you who have children that loved Legos or love
Mm,
Legos because they're currently in the Lego age, we had lots and lots and lots of Legos of all different kinds because each of the kids had their own different Lego theme that they liked. So, and they were kept all their Legos and they had them displayed on shelves. And so we
oh,
bagged them all up and
uh-huh.
except for one or two that each of them kept, they were out to a garage sale. Well, not so much the little girls, but the little boys up the street in the cul-de-sac from where we lived came down on their little bikes in the garage sale and discovered all the bags of Legos. And so off went all these little kids with Legos that they were happy to get for we didn't quite give them away, but pretty much did give them away. So they went to go get money from their allowances to come down and get the Legos. So by the second day of the garage sale, we had all these kids coming from other streets away who had heard that Legos were for sale. But I do have to say, this was one of those, if you snooze, you lose, because
Yeah.
the kids that came the second day, really, there wasn't any Legos left. So it was good that you could see all the little kids that went off just delighted to have a bag of Legos with the directions and the little picture of what they were going to build because we put it together in that way so that they could rebuild them happy. So it was nice to see, new kids go off happy and excited to have something that my own kids had gotten a lot of joy from.
I have a story like that too. One of my neighbors where I used to live, I had this particular angel figure that had shiny wings, and I really loved her for many years. And she kept not getting on the truck somehow. She was sitting on the counter, and my neighbor Daisy came over, and all of a sudden I got the message she needs that angel, and I went, really? So I turned to Daisy and I said, oh, how would you feel if I gifted you this angel? And she went, I love her. That's amazing. And we both got chicken skin, as we say. The hair on our arms stood up. And I went, well, I think she wants to come to you too. So there we go. And it's so rewarding when we know that if we manage to cut loose of our own attachment enough, that maybe it's because it's time to go on to
Yes.
someone else. That was
Yes.
a surprise to me. Yeah. Betty, you have a story like that, don't
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah. Well, uh, my office here was
Mm.
actually a shared office with my husband,
Oh,
but his desk was massive. It was one of those really old antique desks. I don't even know where it came from or how he obtained it, but it was huge. Took up like half the room, right? So when we redid this piece of the office exclusively for me, I put it on, I think sell and swap, one of those things, right? Thinking, yeah, who's going to want this desk? It's so big, you can't even put it in a truck. You have to
mm,
bring like a big truck to put
mm,
it in.
mm,
Son of a gun. I had it up maybe 48 hours and somebody came, they wanted it. And the reason they wanted it was because their daughter had just gotten her teaching degree and she was getting ready to go into the school system. And the only thing she wanted was a desk like her mother's, because her mother, I believe, was also a teacher.
mm.
How they fit it in the classroom, I have no idea, but and they had to bring a horse trailer. That's how big this thing
Oh my
was to
gosh.
put it in. So we had like four guys, we
Yes.
took all the drawers out and everything you could take out, right? And that desk was so old, it had like writing on the inside, it was a
Cool.
beautiful desk. It really was. They were going to refinish it, give it to her. And they were so happy to get that. And that was the catalyst for me to be able to get rid of some of the things in this house because the house is big. It's got a lot of stuff, a lot of memories.
Yeah,
Um,
you
and
bet.
I'm thinking, hey, at my age, I should be really divesting myself of some of these things.
Mm,
And I've started to do that, and it's really wonderful. One of the things that went and this is too long a story, but it was a some Russian nesting dolls. Big. It was big. We had been to Russia right after the fall of the Iron Curtain, and it had the czar and the czarina and the kids. As you opened each one of the dolls,
mm,
some Russian lady was so happy to get that. They said she walked around. It was it. I had given it to an antique dealer and for sale. And they said she grabbed it, she wouldn't let go of it. She walked around the whole store holding on to it. She was so
mm,
thrilled to get it.
mm.
It's and stories like that, okay, going to good
Yeah,
homes. This is wonderful.
that's it.
It
And
makes you feel better, right?
yes.
To
Yeah.
know people, you're bringing happiness to people.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly right.
Yes.
And
a
this is
big
all
lesson.
so good because, you know, um, we all know this, but we have a body as long as we're alive. And so we need to honor that. So for me, the process of moving was all about honoring where am I in the moment? And
Hmm.
as I said, so many rescue pastilles. And you do kind of, mm, I was stretching things, not getting as much sleep as I might have needed, but it was really joyous in a lot of ways to see these things going out into the world in a good way. It's really, really good. So I focused into on being aware of my body as I was moving because let's say I was packing breakables. I was watching as I crinkled the paper or as I wrapped it in bubble wrap and I put it in carefully. And I was moving fairly swiftly because at this point I just wanted stuff done, right? But I was trying to be mindful and present in my body as I was doing that. And I also tried my best to listen to my body when it needed a little rest break or it needed more water or let's say food or just like, oh my gosh, I've got to sit down, because I've been running around like crazy for a while. So I used our very own grounding practices. There's so many ways to ground. Oh my goddess, seriously. But the ones that I rely on the most are tactile, where we rub the backs of our thighs. And that's just to remind ourselves, that's just to remind me, I'll talk about myself, that I'm in a body. And then I press with the backs of my thighs. So I sit up and I engage my core strength, my core. And then another way is to sound either with a sigh, just like, ah, yes, feeling better already, right? Or om or any other sound that appeals to you. And another way that's much beloved of any of us that studied with Oshana, and you may see if you're on YouTube, you'll see behind me, I have a mural of trees and birds. Well, that's a good reminder for me because we use a visualization where we send luminous roots down in order to ground and up through the crown of our head in order to reach for the sky. And that's how we make sure that we're committed to that we're the conduit between earth and sky. So being physically, emotionally, spiritually balanced is an important part or step that happens when we're grounded. So Betty, you were going to talk about results of being grounded.
Oh yeah, I've used this for so many years now because being a nurse, you never really pay attention to your own body. At least I never did. I came out of a Catholic nursing program. You were taught that, everybody comes first except you.
Yes, right.
All right. This was a calling. So you took care of everybody.
Mm.
And so it's a struggle for me now at this advanced age to get in touch with my body. And one of the ways I've been trying to do that is by practicing grounding. So I've been doing it for quite a few years now, and probably more now than I have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, the only person I have to take care of other than myself is my sister. And she's not half the work that my husband was, not even a quarter of it. So I have time to key into my body. And what do I need? And like you said, do I need to eat something? Do I need to drink more water? That's always a big thing for me, taking that time. It's also helped me to be calm under pressure.
Yes.
Those times when you've got chaos swirling around you and everybody's like, what about me? Whoa. If you center ground and you put that out there, you allow that to come through you, I guarantee you'll see things start to calm down a little bit.
I agree.
Because you're the one that's putting out that great feeling of, which is the other thing I do. I did it yesterday. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was like, wah. And I stood in the back and I went, whoo.
Yes.
Which is another way for me to ground. It's very, very quick. So
we just heard you make a sound, but for people who are listening, what did you do with your hands?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Okay. You take your hands, you put them over your head and in front of you, and you take a deep breath, and you just, as you bring your hands down.
There we go. Right.
And this one, I incorporated standing outside in my bare feet.
Exactly. That's the best.
So I was totally grounded, and it just stopped all that rackaroo running around my head, so I could focus on what I needed to do. When you're present like that, you create an energetic field.
Exactly.
All right. I mean, yes, your field is always there, but you create calm in your field, which is why the hand motion of putting my hands down, bringing it down from the top of my head to my feet is really just clearing my field, right?
Sure.
Yes. So these are all the things that help us to keep ourselves from what I call spinning out.
Yeah.
Don't want to spin out. And in the last podcast, I did that meditation where you had the backpack. And if you haven't listened to it yet, I've gotten really good feedback on it from various people. So please take your time, take a few minutes, sit down, listen to it. It's a great thing to use because it'll just put you in a different space where you need to be. You'll release the stress that you're carrying around. You'll be grounded. It's a really good space to be in. It's a really good space to be in.
I'm glad you're bringing that up again. I think it's really powerful. Yeah.
So the other thing I like to do, which is a little bit different, very similar to what Betty and Linda have talked about, is, and And again, I'm also a nurse. So in between patients, you always have to wash your hands. So one of the things that Oceana had taught us is this is a quick thing that you can do in between, and it's also pretty nondescript if you're at a community sink. But I put a little water on my hands, and for those of you who aren't watching on YouTube, I just kind of use the water as though it was soap. So you're kind of that motion of washing your hands, and you take a little bit of that water and you kind of sprinkle it over not into your face, but kind of over your face and on top of your head. And then I actually do an opposite motion where with my hands, I go up and out kind of towards the sky. And imaging, right, that you're pulling off the things that are kind of cluttering your head or your mind, your thoughts or emotions, so that I could break between patients when I was seeing them. And I wash my hands, which you're supposed to do as a nurse between patients. Even though I was sitting down talking to people, I still would wash my hands between patients and use the water to help sort of clear my energy or clear my field, clear my thoughts in that way, so that then I could go to the next person I was seeing and be fully present for them and not carrying around the stuff from the person that had just left the office.
Yeah, I love that.
Same kind
Beautiful.
of idea.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Kind of
Very nice. Yeah. So, you can write into us and comment too about the ways you like to ground or you like to be present in your body. We'd love to hear. There's so many ways. There's so many ways. We could never get them all out there. But, there's a particular wisdom practice that I started using. And to be clear, I got this message from the trees on my property in Connecticut because I was about to teach something having to do with embodying the living land. And I went to the trees outside and I said, well, so you want to weigh in here? What do you think? And I heard two questions that came through. One was, first, ask your body. So this is directed to me. I need to ask my body every single day, just for the day, just for the day. What is it you want and need of me today? Either from me or of me. And keep it simple. World peace, great. How do we do that today? But in most of the answers I've gotten have been really surprising and really informative because my body is so much happier being included in the discussion. I just will say this. Sometimes it's as simple as make sure you drink 8 glasses of water today, please. Or just wiggle your hips around a little bit and get yourself moving. And sometimes go out and ground. Now, it could be winter, and maybe I'm getting directed to go out and ground barefoot. Well, maybe I'll try it and just see what happens. But there are so many different ways that our body can communicate with us, and it begins to build a very healthy relationship of embodiment because we're actually including our body's needs and wants in the discussion. And I think that's just it. It needs a place at the table where we're having our discussion about what we do next and how.
right.
The second question was involving the land under our feet. And so ask the land under your feet, wherever you are in any given moment, what is it you want and need of me today? Now, that's an interesting discussion because who knows? When I first moved into my new place, one of the first things I did after I'd driven 8 hours from Pennsylvania across is I stopped and said hello to the trees on the property. So that's just, I want to introduce myself, right? And there's a giant maple right next to a giant oak. It's on the corner of 3 different properties here. And this is a little neighborhood, but it's really a beautiful, ancient, old maple. And it just started waving, saying, come on back here, put your table back here. I was like, really? Because I had an outdoor table and chair set. And so I did. I put my table and chair back there. And that tree is so friendly. It has so many overarching branches. It has what I'm now calling tree rooms that are, areas that you could sit under. And it's always so inviting. So when I do those 2 questions here, I ask for my body and I ask for the land beneath my feet and find out what it needs. And often that tree just says, come sit back here with me. Come visit me. And so I'm trying my best to remember.
That is a beautiful practice. I mean, when we were preparing the podcast and we were talking about these things, I did start doing that. And in the morning when I wake up, I do, I say my prayers as always, and then I
Mhm.
ask my body, what do you need today?
Uh-huh.
What do you need today? And you're right. Sometimes it's a simple thing, like, I need you to get into the pool and start swimming.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's just, make sure you eat today. Because if I'm doing something at the computer, oh my goodness, I can be on there for hours. Or if I'm in a book, that's bad.
Ha
That could be a lot of hours.
Yes.
So I have to pay attention to what my body needs. And my trees, oh, I have so many ash trees that had been taken down, and
Oh, yeah.
it's so sad. So I go over and I put a little tobacco with the tree and say, I'm really
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
So I'm trying to caretake the land also. It really
Lovely.
needs it today. And if you live in the city, you can
Yes.
just go to your park. Most places have a park that you can go to, you know. I think if you remember way back that first year we were doing the podcast, one of the things that I did was I had potted plants in my apartment.
That's right. Yes.
So I would be taking care of them.
Yes.
So there are tremendous options. And since we have, now have our website, twocronesandamicrophone.com, we have the Facebook page, we have Instagram, let us know what you've been doing. What do you want to do to help reconnect? Because it really does make a big difference. I promise you that.
It really does.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Sally,
Becky.
you're in a new place, so you must be having lots of conversations and lots of
No,
animals.
I like watching the little animals from my deck, I have to say.
Mhm.
Chipmunks are pretty industrious. We always think about squirrels as being industrious, but I've been watching all these chipmunks, and you have to run really fast to stay away from the hawks and the eagles. So
Really?
they run so fast across the yard. It's like these teeny little bitty things. They're so cute. They're so cute. A lot of buzzing hummingbirds before they head off for the winter.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Yeah, same here. Yes.
I always miss them when they leave.
Sally, did you have something you wanted to talk about for grandfather Sky and Mother Earth?
oh, so we talked about going back to that very first grounding video and
Yes.
reminding you of what Betty and Linda shared back then, and doing a short piece of that again here because it's been a couple of years since we've actually done that in the podcast. So we've talked a lot about different ways of grounding. And this is back to one of the basic ways that Oshna taught us, keeping us centered, right? Taking us out of a place of emotion to
Mhm.
that place of calm and empty so that our energy can move outward and connect. And so if you are driving, don't do it now, right? As we said with
Thank
the
you.
other videos, stay focused on driving if you're listening to this podcast while you're driving, but you can go back and replay it so that you can do it and be fully present rather than just hearing it. You can choose to participate in doing it at the same time. And you know that there are not a number of times in a day when you can choose to center and ground.
Mhm.
And if it's a particularly busy time, like Linda was talking about, the many times during the day when she was moving in order to keep herself in a good place so she could approach the move, right, in a good and positive way and embrace moving
Yeah.
and not have it kind of snow you over, because having moved not all that long ago myself, it's really easy to get taken under by the intense amount of work that you have to do physically as well as emotionally.
Mhm.
Letting go of beloved things is just as challenging, I think, as physically lifting boxes of books, which I don't know about the rest of you, but I personally have lots of boxes of books. So I guess you could probably tell by looking at my background if you're looking on YouTube for doing this. So the whole notion then, doesn't matter who you are, we all have really busy days and places. So this is for us to find balance and move us towards our center. So wherever you are, whether you're sitting or laying down, uncross your ankles, sit in a comfortable position. If you're in a chair, plant those feet fully on the ground. Don't cross your ankles, sit them firmly on the ground. And focus on your breath and start to just experience your breath, becoming conscious of your breathing and how that feels to breathe in and breathe out. Some of us may be challenged in our breathing, and so we really become acutely conscious of those breaths. So however deep you can take that breath, it's okay if it feels like you don't want to go too deep because you might be short of breath. And maybe you're somebody who does yoga, and so when you do your deep breath, you do that huge diaphragm goes down, lungs expand, and you're holding your breath. However that is, it's right and perfect for this grounding. So just be aware of that breath. And as you start your breath, inhale and begin to exhale, gently noticing how it feels to slowly exhale. And you may exhale slowly with sound. As we talked about earlier, any sound will do. Might be a sigh like I gave you. Might be you're blowing through your nose and it's kind of a harumph. And it might just be a very gentle whisper that's kind of like the breeze in the trees where it's just a, which you may not even be able to hear on the video. So feel the movement of air as it hits your uvula at the back of your throat, or that little place that hangs down in the back, and hear the difference in the vibration and how it feels. You're going to do that several times at your own pace. Sometimes people like to put a number to that, so you might do it 3 times. And each time, suspend your exhale for a little bit longer period of time. And now I invite you to visualize yourself as a tree. Maybe if you're watching on YouTube, you're actually looking at the tree behind Linda. Sometimes it's easier to visualize a tree when you're looking at one. And you have those sturdy branches that reach far into the sky with many little branches connecting you to the energies of the sky, to the air. Maybe you even go so far as visualizing little leaves that you can feel rustling. Well, actually, you're hearing them rustling, but you might feel them. If you become that tree, you might actually feel those leaves moving. And they connect you with everything around you. And now I invite you to bring your focus through your body, right? You have yourself with those arms and branches and leaves reaching out to the sky, and you bring that energy in. And for those of you who are not on YouTube, you kind of visualize yourself coming to that center as though there's a line in your body, and you bring that energy down through your body, drawing it all the way through to your feet that you have firmly planted on the ground. Even if you're laying and it's the heels of your feet, they're on something, they're resting on something. And how do your feet feel? Are they in shoes? Are they in socks? Are you barefoot? Can you wiggle your toes? If you're laying down, can you feel the heels of your feet planted firmly on something soft? Or maybe it's a harder carpet, or maybe you choose to listen to this and you're outside and your feet are straight there on the earth. And you can feel and smell the earth or the grass between your feet. Or maybe you live in the desert and what you're feeling between your toes is sand. Imagine, though, the luminous roots of light that grow from the bottoms of your feet. And imagine them kind of moving through the sand or the dirt or the earth and kind of wiggling and growing into the earth. Feel the earth and the strength that comes from the earth, comes from Mother Earth. We are connected to her always, whether we take the time to notice that or not. And move those energies out, 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 out into the earth. You may extend them so far that you get to the place where you're at the core of our earth, our planet. And you may feel that. No heat involved with that. Your roots are not burning, they're just connecting and feeling support from the depth of the mother. And then begin to move those energies back up the luminous roots of light, up, 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 back to the bottoms of your feet, to your body, and blend those energies with your body so that you can see and feel yourself connected to the sky, grandfather sky, and that connection is through your body with those luminous roots to the earth. And it moves up and it moves down in a process that is clearing and connecting and makes you feel totally one. Take a moment to breathe in those energies as they balance you, being aware of all that is. And when you're doing this on your own, stay in that energy until you're ready, until you feel calm and you're in a space where you say, okay, now I'm ready to become fully back into my body, and open your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And take a moment to sit with that before you jump into the next thing that you might need or want to do, so that you can sort of savor that energy and remember that you can take it with you. That way that you feel when you do this, you can carry it with you. You don't have to leave it sitting in the chair. You can take it with you as you go throughout your day. And that place of feeling centered, feeling grounded, and feeling balanced, you can approach your day and those people that you interact with and the things that you do during the day from that place of calm, where we remember that we're connected with all that is. And in the world nowadays, it's really easy to be pulled off that center and to become ungrounded and feel like we're tumbling in the emotions of our world right now, which is pretty tumultuous. So thank you for participating with that. And I sometimes take the time to journal how I feel or to talk about it with somebody else. When you open your eyes, make sure that you pay attention. How do things look different after you do that exercise? Do things look different when you open your eyes? Are they clearer? Are they brighter? Are they sharper? Do you see more color?
I felt like
How do
that
you feel?
was very restorative. Thank you.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm so relaxed. I'm like, what am I supposed to say now? Let me think for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
You were going to talk about sharing this with other people and the
Yes, and
good results that they've had.
Yes.
I do share it frequently. It might be a shorter version, but pretty much same thing that Sally did. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking we will put this on the website also, so you can listen on the website. Um, recently I've been in physical therapy to get my strength back up, and I gave it to the person who was a new graduate who was working with me. She was all nervous about taking her test. Her licensing exam is a big deal, and I had her listen to the podcast, and you know what? Of course, she aced the test because she told me that when she went into it, she felt calm.
Hmm.
It was relaxed. She could come up with the answers. Um, it's really a wonderful thing to do, and I'm so glad we're revisiting this because it's a real gift that we're giving to our listeners. It really is. Yeah, totally.
All
Ladies,
right.
we're all relaxed, so
I
we're
know. And, you
Sally, you
know,
did a good job.
I know. Well, Betty, there was a question I think that came up from a listener about the meditation with the backpack.
Yes.
And I think the question was, can I do the meditation more than once? And do you want to answer that?
Oh, absolutely. Because let me tell you, you may be taking stuff out of that backpack, but it's getting filled up really quick
Yeah,
with life.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you could do that meditation, daily if you wanted to.
Hmm,
Yeah, I've gotten really wonderful feedback on that meditation. People are quite happy with it.
that's great. Yeah, so the more the better to some degree.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
And
it
I think
because
we had talked about as we were prepping too, it might be nice to make it a little practice for yourself and maybe do it for a week
Yes.
and just every day and just see how you feel. It's always good to inquire about, well, how can something like this actually help me? Well, let's give it a
Right.
try.
And share it. Don't be afraid to share it.
That too.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
Sally, you wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, I personally like the approach where you have the emotional things that you might look at and let go of. The physical, dividing it up like that
Yes,
seemed
yes,
really rich to me because sometimes
yes.
we are in a space where we only think about the emotional things that we want to get rid of, and we don't stop to think, well, there might be some creaks and aches and pains, and maybe what we're letting go of is the frustration we have about our bodies getting old or being tired or whatever it is. But
Hmm.
to kind of separate those out and think that through so that we look at all aspects of things and not just focus in one area, because it's really easy to get focused just in one area. So I personally, when I listened to it, really loved the way that you divided it out.
Good.
Thank you
Thanks,
for that
Sally. Thanks.
recap. Yes, yeah. Well, we've gone over grounding practices. We've talked about some life changes for me. We've talked about all kinds of lovely things. I hope you've enjoyed listening. We appreciate you tuning into our podcast. So kindly spread the word and feel free to reach out to us with any questions about whatever we're talking about in a given podcast. We'd be more than happy to answer them. Feel free to leave us a rating or share this episode with your friends and family. Please subscribe to our podcast with your podcast provider. That means that you're going to get a notice every single time a new podcast goes up, and that's a benefit. And then we'd love for you to leave a review for us or words of wisdom or anything. Chat with us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Tell us what's most memorable about this episode. We aim to give you ways to be kind to yourself and others. Many thanks to minervaed.com and Franny's Photography for sponsoring our podcast. On minervaed.com, you'll see a link to a video experience of tapping. And Betty discussed this on a previous podcast. It's really lovely. And I want to highlight too, there are live classes going on at Minerva. In case you're nearby or traveling through Pennsylvania, you might want to check that out on Minerva ED. And also, I'm going to be doing this fall, three different online classes from 4 to 5:30, the last Sunday of each month. First one coming up is Sunday, September 29th. You might remember early on, first year, we did the golden light meditation, and that's a lovely meditation on how to get yourself enveloped with golden light and get rid of various thoughts and feelings and things that may have lived their time with you. So now I'm going to expand on that because I have more information now, and we'll talk about how to turn that golden light meditation into a practice of becoming the bridge between earth and sky. And I'll just give you a tip of the hand. It's going to involve a golden cloak of feathers that's absolutely delightful. So it's a lot of fun. And so you can look at minervaed.com for registration for that class and for the other two in October and November. And we'll have, just pay attention, we'll have many other classes and things coming up.
The other thing you might want to do to keep us on the air is to just donate,
Ah,
a few bucks here and there. It helps us pay our expenses. And there'll be a button on the podcast, I believe. Franny, of course, is taking care of all of this.
sure.
But even a couple of dollars a month is great. And you may find yourself, you'll be part of our mail list at that point. And we will be sending out a newsletter once a month with all kinds of cool stuff in it. So you can subscribe and you can donate to us, which would be great. So thank you. So thank you. I'm going to say thank you in advance because I know there's at least a couple of you out there who would definitely press that button.
Absolutely. And I would bring up too, I think that we're starting to get some comments in from various folks about how much they appreciate the podcast. And
Yes,
we value that so much. So
we do.
thank you.
Absolutely.
We feel like we're building a community and we like that.
That is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
A community to help us get through the muddy waters of our time.
There you go. All right.
Yep.
Well, I want to invite you to go outside and find your glimmer and ask those two questions. Ask your body and ask the earth beneath your feet. What do you want and need of me today?
And as always, walk in beauty.
Mm,
Remember, Kaydeeshday, all is made beautiful. And as you go about your day, remember to let yourself be surrounded by the beauty of each day and finding not just the beauty, but the joy in each day.
well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.